Welcome back, fisher people, to another fly tying video with Broken Water Outfitters. Today I'm going to introduce you to our Bank Buster Sculpin pattern. I developed this streamer a few years ago when I was looking for something I could fish in shallow water without having to worry about getting caught up on the rocks and substrate. This pattern fishes very, very well at this. It can be presented in a couple different ways. It will produce on the swing. The tail has a nice little wiggle when you swing this fly. Jigging it is also pretty effective. My favorite way to fish it, throwing it close to the bank on a mono rig, giving it a couple quick strips, usually will elicit a strike or at least a follow from any fish that are in the area. This pattern scales pretty easily. I tie it in sizes 2 through 8, but I most commonly fish it in sizes 2 and 4. Tie the head on this pattern a couple different ways, but today I'm going to show you a modified slider head kind of style. It happens to be one of my go-tos and kind of my favorite head on this fly. Hope you guys are enjoying these videos. If you are, please like, subscribe, follow, share them with your friends, other fly tiers. I've rambled on enough. Let's get to tying. Let me show you this pattern.
Today we're going to be using an Umpqua U680 barbless black nickel competition streamer hook in size 2. The thread we're going to be using is Danville 210 denier in black. We're going to wrap it onto the hook. Build up a little bit of a base. We need something for the lead eyes that we're putting on here to bite to. Go ahead and dab a little bit of super glue on top of those wraps once you get them on there. This will help just kind of bind everything down and make a good little sticky platform for those eyes to sit on. The eyes we're going to be using are lead painted eyes, size medium in the yellow. We're going to attach them to the top of the hook, take a couple crossing wraps over to secure those down. I really like this Danville thread when I'm attaching eyes like this because there's a good bit of stretch to it. After you get the crossing wraps on there, go ahead and take some wraps around the base of the eyes, think of them as posting wraps, just to pull all those wraps tightly together. Once you do that, you're going to make figure 8s over the eyes. And then make some posting wraps again. This just bites right into the thread, pulls everything together nicely, keeps your eyes from moving around easily. Go ahead and wrap back the shank a little bit. Come in with a whip finish. We're done with this thread at this point. We're going to change over to something else. We're going to be changing over to 100 denier GSP. When you're cutting GSP off, go ahead and pull it against your scissors. Don't try and clip it with your scissors. It doesn't work very well and you will dull them. It's a very, very strong thread. Go ahead and work back. We're going to tie in our polar flash. Take 4 strands of polar flash for this size fly. Double it over, cut it, do that 3 times, and that'll give you the proper amount. As you can tell, this does have a pretty flashy tail. When you're tying this in, make sure you double it over and tie it in as you see me doing here. If you do not, it will get pulled out as you catch fish with this fly. Just decreases the durability if you don't use that technique. Some good strong wraps over top of that will bite that into the body nicely. Now we're moving on to the body of the fly. We're going to be using Microflex soft hackle in size large, color's tan. Cotton material or cotton core material, so it can be a little bit tough to get it cleared off to where you have a nice little tie-in point, so just be careful you don't destroy the material. You can use any kind of bulky chenille. You don't have to use this stuff. I frequently change out the material for something else. Game Changer chenille also works pretty well. Go ahead and start taking wraps with that. Use your fingers to sweep those fibers backwards so you're not trapping them down. We do want some bulk with this material, since it's our main body material. We're trying to develop that nice profile. Make sure you're putting a good bit of tension on this stuff. It has a little bit of stretch to it, so we'll make sure we bite that down in. We're going to stop this just short of the eyes because we need a nice little landing spot to tie in our pectoral fins and our rabbit zonker strip over the top. Once you're ready to tie this in, you're going to take a couple wraps over top of the material and then pull it backwards and take a couple more wraps in front of it. This will secure everything nicely. Come in, pull it straight up, come in with your scissors, snip it off close. Try not to take any of that body we just built out when you cut this off. Now we're going to sweep everything back and just clean it up a little bit and make sure we have that good landing zone. To tie in the next material. So now we're going to tie in our pectoral fins. I like to blend 3 different colors of rubber legs. Give a nice mottled look. You're going to divide those in half. Find the midpoint there. Take a couple loose wraps over and then pull that thread taut. Don't tighten it down. If you're still using that 100 denier GSP, it will cut straight through those if you really try and wrench them. Sweep them back, give a couple wraps in front of them. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Sculpin have a very pronounced pectoral fin. It takes up about 1/3 of the size of their body. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to get your proportions right when you're tying sculpin invitations. Again, a couple loose wraps. Try not to trap any of the legs on the other side that you've already tied in. Use your fingers to sweep everything back, keep it on the correct side, and take some wraps in front of it just to kind of clean everything up and build that tie-in point or landing zone for our next material. When you get up in this area, it doesn't hurt to take a few more crossing wraps over those eyes just to tighten everything down, and it can give you a different angle to tie things in. Here's a cool little trick using just your regular plastic drinking straw. Go ahead and cut a section off. It's about the length of the body of your fly. Split it down the middle and you can slide it right back over everything, and it'll help keep those legs swept back and out of the way. Now we're going to tie on our brown barred Magnum rabbit strip, and with the main color being olive. We're going to want our tail to be about a hook shank in length. Split the hairs, find that point, and slide it over the point of the hook, centered on the leather. You'll have to take your hook out of the vise, slide that material down the rest of the way, and then re-secure it in the vise. You're going to pull it taut. Don't worry about that straw. That'll slide out at the end. Wet your fingers. That can help you divide these hairs because we don't want to trap them down when we're tying this in. Sweep those out of the way. Find your tie-in point. Take a couple good wraps over top of this, right behind the eyes. Once you get a couple wraps over top and behind the eyes, go ahead and pull that rabbit strip up and back and take a couple wraps in front of it. And then you're going to come in with some scissors and snip it off close. Doesn't hurt to wet your fingers again here just to smooth everything back and out of your way so you're not trapping any kind of rabbit fur in a weird direction. We're going to clean this up a little bit. We're going to take wraps over top. We're going to take some figure 8 wraps around the eyes at the same time, just to smooth out the head and get ready to spin our deer head on here. Go ahead and whip finish. We're done with this 100 denier GSP. After you whip finish, go ahead and put a couple drops of super glue on top of this. Think of it as kind of a hard save for your material so far at this point. For this deer hair head, we're going to be using 2 different colors. We're going to be using olive deer hair and golden brown deer hair. Once you get that cleaned up stack, go ahead and tie that in. Your tips should almost be touching that hook point when you tie it in. Take a couple wraps over. Now use your thumb to push down and pull forward between the eyes. You'll leave a little indentation, and that's where we're going to put the next clump of hair. So we started with the olive deer hair. Now we're going to switch to that golden brown. We're going to put it right in the middle of this clump. It gives a nice kind of two-toned head, and these 2 colors match that rabbit strip pretty well. Careful you're not trapping any of those butt ends, forcing them back when you're tying this next piece. Put that right on top. Now you're going to pull straight down, and you'll see that whole mess of hair just come straight up and kind of become one. Sweep that back and give a couple wraps in front. So this is why I call this a modified slider head. Find about that midpoint on there. Careful your thread doesn't kind of creep forward. Get it back close to the eyes. Give one good wrap around. And then on that next wrap, go ahead and let that hair spin around the shank. It's gonna be a little intimidating, but as you can see, it's not that difficult. Start sweeping things back with your fingers. Kind of work that thread up through and in front of that big old clump of hair. A hair packer can be a useful tool here just to kind of force everything back and get it nice and tight and to clear a little bit of space. Maybe use just a little bit too much hair here and crowd the eye a little, but I'll make it work. Come in here, tie your knot. I like to put a couple knots on here just to kind of increase the durability, since this is a streamer and it gets attacked pretty viciously. These patterns take some time. We don't want them falling apart on us. Go ahead and snip your thread free. Pick up your razor blade. We're going to come in, we're going to start forming this head. The bottom, we're going to take a pretty flat cut to start out. Probably should have used a fresh razor blade. This one's done a couple heads, so it's getting a little dull. Keep in mind, you're not trying to take all of the hair off of here. You're just trying to shape the head. It'd be easy to get too aggressive. Now we're going to pinch the blade and give it a little bit of a curve. We're going to come in, wiggle it just a little back and forth, and come back to that collar. Fresh razor blade will cut a lot better on here, but we'll get through it. You can see the shape of that head starting to form. So we've done the top, we've done the bottom. We're going to have to shape the sides here. In order to shape the sides, you're going to want a okay pair of hair scissors with a little bit longer jaw on them. Where you can start to form that shape of one cut. You can see I'm kind of steadying the scissors here with my other hand. The way this head is built is what allows it to fish easily in the shallows without getting hung up on the substrate or getting tangled up in the rocks too badly. When I talk about throwing this thing close to the bank, there are times that I throw it onto the bank and then strip it into the water from there. With this head, it just doesn't get hung up. Take your time when you're trimming this. When it comes to deer hair, if you take too much, there's really no way to repair it. We wouldn't use this straw. When we've been trimming our head, we would likely cut away some of those rubber legs. Now it's time to pull that straw out. You'll see it just slides out. Just like that. make sure that those legs are to the appropriate side and down and out of our way. Now we're going to come in with some UV resin, and we're going to place it between the eyes and kind of in that little bit of a gap you can see there. That just fills in things nicely. Give it a good cure. You don't want to let it sit on there too long and soak into your materials. Now we're going to trim our pectoral fins. If you have a rotary vise, it can sometimes be a little easier to cant the fly sideways. So gravity helps you out here. These rubber legs can kind of get trapped in that body material a little bit. A good measurement for these is almost back to the bend of the hook. That's about 1/3 of the fly. So there it is. That's a Bank Buster Sculpin. Tie some up, get out there, get after it, and as always, hunt the water.